Welcome back to another episode of The Rundown, your one-stop shop for everything CSAA sports. We're kind of rocking right now. Boys, first couple rounds of districts are coming to a close. Tonight, we're going to try to get this out Friday before the games. Tonight is going to be championship games for a lot of the district finals. And then also girls are getting ready to go after it next week at the conclusion of the CSAA tournament as well. So it's pretty big time all around. We're excited for it. Brandon Worth's here. I'm here. My name is Joe, if you haven't noticed, by the way, or by seeing our names on the Zoom call that we're on. But we're after it. We're getting good, and we're ready to roll. Brandon, how are you, man?
Caffeinated on low sleep and absolutely wired to the T to answer that question in
Same.
brief.
Same. We got back. We were at a Detroit. Actually, let me represent a little bit. We were at a Red Wings game last night,
Oh, wait,
and
wait, wait,
we
wait.
got back late night,
Oh,
late night. Yeah, late night last night. But we're getting out for you, because we love you guys and we appreciate all the support from everybody across the CSAA. We're not just a Big Rapids thing. We would try to make this for everybody, which is a blast. And especially, I've met a few people from other schools that have said thank you, and it's very cool to see the recognition that we get. So let's get right into it. I think we should start with boys district finals. Brandon, we're going to be calling Reed City tonight on Big Country. If you want to listen to that one, I think we'll just kind of go down the line. You pick whatever one you want to go first, Brandon.
all right. Let's start with the big one, right? District 35. Really, so far, one big upset. Manistee over Big Rapids was one that certainly it makes sense, but obviously the way that Big Rapids was playing over the conference tournament, you were like, man, they look like they're a team to beat, a team to watch in this district, and they fall to the Mariners in what was one of their, I mean, really, it was one of their probably poorest games they've played all year. And I'm not trying to like slander on them or anything. It was just really the sloppiest, slowest, worst case scenario for Big Rapids to go through as far as how that game went. And it was into Manasee's favor. That's exactly the way they needed to play to beat them. And they did that. So you got to give them credit. They fell to Ludington in the semifinal round. The Orioles really clean shot by 29 points. The Orioles, Coach Shank, their crew, always going to be a tough team to get out. But they'll be facing off against Reed City, who was fortunate enough to get the bye. Played the Hart Pirates, virtue of their win over Mason County Central. And the Spartans, they finished 2-1 against the Spartans on the season, third time around. But Reed City, this was a tough game. They were down 8, I believe, at halftime, 10 points, double digits in the first half. And they made one of the best quarter efforts I have seen from a high school basketball team in that third quarter. They were down by 8. They ended up leading by 5 going into the fourth. It was a complete turnaround. They made some big time plays defensively, getting steals, able to score off of them. It was really just an absolute magnificent thing to watch unfold on the floor. They held off Hart with a really good push from the free throw line at the end of the game. They win at 57-42. So now we see the Orioles and the Coyotes in the District 35 final. It's going to be fun. It's the first time Reed City has been to the district final. I had to look it up just to be sure. It was back in 2016 when they faced off against the team that has their logos on me and Joe's screen all the way back. It was a 55-44 win for the Cardinals in the district final. But it was a really fun basketball game. I remember seeing stories and watching that one live as a JV youngster, watching the varsities go at it. But it was certainly a fun basketball game, and I think we're going to expect something very similar between these two tough caliber top 2 seeds here tonight. Going to be in going to be a good one in Manistee between Ludington and Reed City.
Yeah, that was a tough part, especially about District 35, because we expected what we were thinking about was it's going to be a Big Rapids Reed City final. We thought it was going to kind of double dip, but I mean, it's always unfortunate. You never really know what's going to happen in March, and especially for Big Rapids, it's just a tough go of it. I mean, shots weren't falling, especially, and then going against Manistee. I mean, they were just kind of hitting the right shots when they needed to, and then they get through. But Ludington is going to be a very solid matchup against Reed City. That one's going to be a big time one. I think it's going to be really close, and I'm excited to see what's going on tonight. I'll be on the boards. Brandon's going to be on the call, so dynamic duo is going to be back at it again tonight on Big Country 100.9. If you want to hear about that one. District 36 was Chip Hills's district. They fell in the second round to Clare 50-38. So their season is over. I think we'll probably go into the next couple other districts. Brandon, if you want to take over on these ones, if you want, just kind of go through the ones that you're thinking about.
Yeah, for sure. Closing note on District 36 as well, as the winner of tonight's District 35 title plays District 36. That game, I believe, I double checked this, would be in Big Rapids. Not totally confirmed, but
Neutral
it
site.
could be in Big Rapids. So Reed City wins that game. They face off against Clare or Standish. Two teams, by the way, they beat this season already, and they'll face off on neutral hardwood in Big Rapids. Boy, that is going to be something
Yeah, that'd be
special if we get to see that again.
yeah,
But
that'd be
wait,
big
they got
time.
to get the job done tonight, though. So those are two tough teams with Claire. Obviously, they always play you tough, and especially when you look at Standish Sterling. I mean, they're one of the top 5, 6 teams in the region altogether. So they're going to be a tough out for anybody to get them out of the tournament. But moving to District 41, this was a other prominent one in CSAA. This was the Fremont District. And I mean, I
This
gotta
was
give
pretty
a
much
shout out.
CSAA district. This was
It pretty
CSAA
much was.
district. Pretty
Yeah,
much.
pretty much everything except for Sparta has not been a part of the CSAA. Fremont was, but then obviously the other teams, Grant, Newaygo, Tri-County, Kent City, are all in the CSAA. But I gotta give a shout out to Fremont because this was a team that I came in with my half-court shot saying, hey, I think they make it to the final. They get over an upset-worthy Kent City team, and they beat Sparta, a 14-win basketball team, at home, and they did it. They're in the final. They're playing not the Grant Tigers. It's the Newaygo Lions pulling off the upset. So we're gonna see the Lions and the Packers here tonight in
Yeah.
Fremont for that 41 crown. That's just a crazy thing because we looked at what Grant was doing at the end of the year, and we're like, man, they're going to be a team to watch.
They're rolling.
And they were really rolling in the mid part of the season. But Newaygo just got them the third time around. And that's just the way it goes in sports, right? It's hard to beat a team 3 times, you know? So, and especially for what Tri-County did that first game, put it 66-62, put Newaygo on their heels. And Newaygo wins another 4-point game. They win 61-57 over Grant. So that's a big win for Newaygo and that crew. And for Fremont, getting on the upset train they've had at home. Going to be an electric final there in District 41, but especially as well, Joe, I had to touch on this too. District 42, I made the
That one
claim
caught my
earlier
eye.
on this year.
That one
This
caught
one,
my eye.
this one caught everybody's eye. Spring Lake wins in overtime, knocks out arguably the number 1 seed in all of Division II in Whitehall. And that is a huge win for Spring Lake. I mean, they were a team that you looked at in the round 1. They're going to play Montague tough. It's going to be a tight game. They go out and clobber Montague. Absolutely just dominated them from opening tip to final whistle. They win by 25. You're like, okay, this might be a game here. We'll see how Whitehall responds. And Spring Lake takes them to overtime and beats them by 12 in overtime. Everything was going Spring Lake's way. It's an unfortunate way for Whitehall to end their season early, but we'll have to wait and see now. Spring Lake going to be taking on Fruitport. Both teams were at 500 or worse record-wise this year in the regular season, and they're going to be playing for a district title. If that doesn't spell out March Madness that we have ensuing, I don't know what does.
Yeah, this is pretty much how you want it to be, pretty much. I mean, Whitehall was a team, especially when we saw them play Big Rapids, we thought this team's legit. But Spring Lake obviously just coming out with a chip on their shoulder, especially getting a big win against Montague in that first round, really just propelled them. So Spring Lake, Fruitport, we're going to see how it goes. I'm excited for this District 41 final. We're going to be rooting for Newaygo. Hopefully the CSAA can pull another big-time win out. So we'll see how that one goes as well. There's also a couple other ones. Morley Stanwood got knocked out in the second round to Ithaca. Kind of a tough loss, 28-50. They fell in that one, but that was right after they beat Lakeview to move into the second round, 54-36. There's a whole bunch of districts I gotta keep track of on my computer, and I can't have them labeled on the tab, so I'm just scrambling through them all to try to make sure that we get basically everybody who's of importance in the CSA. But I mean, obviously, there's some pretty big ones. White Cloud is in the District 74 final against North Muskegon. They were able to top Ravenna after kind of getting that first round bye, 53-50. So a close one. And North Muskegon just beat the brakes off of Shelby 65-29 to get there. So I don't know how this is going to go, but hopefully White Cloud is going to be able to pull this one out.
Yeah, we'll be rooting for White Cloud. I really think they could have a good shot here. They played North Muskegon end of the regular season. That was the same night, I believe. If I remember my memory, I should say, serves me correct, Joe. That was the night you were up in Traverse City. We were watching that game as well as
That
this
was
game.
that
Both
night.
of them were exciting games. Obviously, when you look back at the score sheet, you're like, oh, North Muskegon won by double digits. Like, was it? But during the early part of the second half, halftime, the whole first half, it was in 5 points. And we know what White Cloud can play with North Muskegon. They had to play at North Muskegon. They started missing some shots in the second half, and North Muskegon was taking care of the basketball, and they were getting some good looks. And knocking them down. So you look at it now on neutral hardwood. This could be a very interesting ball game, and obviously every team knows this. No matter what happens in the regular season, you go 2-0 against a team, you beat a team in the regular season, you see them the second time around where you got scouts, you got obviously guys that might be banged up injury-wise. It's a whole different ball game when you get in. It doesn't matter if you go 2-0 against a team in a regular season. I don't know how many times throughout my time, especially playing now into covering these local teams, where you have a team that's 2-0 against a team going into the postseason. It's almost like you can put your mortgage on them losing in the playoffs to that team, because it's hard to beat a team 3 times. That's just the way that it goes. So it'll be exciting to see what White Cloud does. Obviously, they can shoot the basketball very well. If they can get hot over there on those Hesperia hoops, then it could be a very fun final, and I hope they can pull it out against North Muskegon, a really good team, still without a blemish this year. But White Cloud also is pretty much playing some of the best basketball they have played in program history, especially over the last decade. So we're going to be rooting for them all the way, and hopefully the Indians can come out on top.
Yeah, we're hoping so. I just can't believe that Northern Muskegon is just rocking it out. I mean, they have
It's
not
23-0.
lost.
Just like 23-0.
It's
Just
just
rolling.
insane to think about so far. So, tough task for White Cloud. I think they're a team that's going to be able, if it's anybody, I think they're going to be a team to be able to pull off the upset. And Hesperia's gym is not the easiest one to play in. It's a little bit smaller. It's kind of a closer venue, and especially with that, I mean, the fans can get loud, they can get raucous, and especially with, on the line as a district title, I think you're going to see two teams just battling out start to finish, which is going to be pretty cool to see.
Yes, absolutely. And for those curious as well, I did check up on Cadillac after their game on Wednesday. They took care of business against Bay City Western. So despite moving up to D1, especially playing Mount Pleasant. Now, obviously, the game's going to be at Mount Pleasant. They're going to win their first district title in their first year in D1.
Yeah, they're going to rock it out.
Very good chance. Very good chance. I'm not going to put it in the book. I'm not going to put my mortgage on it. But very, very good chance. They beat Mount Pleasant at their place, secure a title. Wow, they're just doing an incredible job.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's all you can say about that. That's really all you can say.
That's really all you can say about it. So I think that's everybody in the CSAA, at least, for how they did in the in the districts, I believe, right? Are we missing anybody?
Oh, we missed on one here. Central Montcalm was the other team, because they are just out of the reach of the other assignments with Grant and Newaygo. They're just a little bit far southeast, so they get over into the Saginaw district. So that's with Bullet Creek and Shepherd. They lost in the first round. Central Montcalm did to Swan Valley, a team that Reed City fans know very well. And Swan Valley is competing against the Shepherd Blue Jays for the District 40 title. Many Big Rapids fans know about the Shepherd Blue Jays from the early season loss to Shepherd at their place earlier this season for Big Rapids. So you got Shepherd and you got Saginaw Swan Valley battling it out for a District 40 title. Central Montcalm, unfortunately, not moving on, but still a good season. They played spoiler quite a bit, and they were a fun team to watch. So, I'll be very curious, especially when we start getting into the off season. We're starting to talk about these previews, what we're going to have for some of these teams on deck, because there's a lot of teams that are really a lot of big promise going into this next year with such young rosters, and I think it's going to make the CSAA, as crazy as it was this year, we might even see that gap start to shrink just a little bit, and it might be a tight race coming when we get to winter next year. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, I think so too. And speaking of the offseason, let us know if you guys want anything like more specifically covered in the spring. I think we're probably going to cover like baseball, softball, track, that kind of stuff. But anything else that you might want to think about that we can update you guys on, just shoot us a message. Let us know, because we're definitely down to workshop anything into this whole thing. But I think that's going to be good for the boys' side of it. We'll go into the girls' side of it. The CSA tournament has come to a close, and it looks like other than Kent City got the dub and is CSA tournament champion. So congratulations to the Eagles. They beat Morley 45-33. I think Kent City and Morley were the two teams that kind of everybody thought probably 2 weeks before the season ended were going to be those two teams at the top of the at the table, especially in that championship game. They proved it, and Kent City comes out on top, 18-4 to close out the regular season. Impressive, very very impressive.
You want to know what's even more impressive? 13 in a row to finish the regular season. That's how good the Kansas City Eagles were to finish this season. Beating Grant in that semifinal at home by 11. Then they beat Morley Stanwood on the road at Morley Stanwood 45-33. I mean, you just got to give big time credit to Coach Holcomb, that staff. They've done an incredible job. We saw that second half because they started a little bit. I don't want to say shaky at the beginning part of the year because they took two losses against two really good teams. They lost to Kanawha Hills, I believe, by one score. They played Morley Stanwood the first time to 3 overtimes. It was one of the greatest games in the area that we'd seen in quite some time. Then they went on a little bit of a skid against Covenant Christian. They lost to Reed City at Reed City, which is a tough place to play. And since then, casual 13 in a row. They've just been absolutely red hot, and you got to give them credit. And obviously, as earning one of the top seeds in District 74, they don't have to play now until the next round. So they're going to be in the semifinal, which I believe will be taking place, double checking, on Wednesday, March 6th, which we'll get into those brackets here in just a minute. But especially also in that third place game, obviously Grant going to be faced off against Reed City. Won a nail biter at home. It was 41-40. Grant beat Reed City there in that third place game. So that rounds out the top part of the table. Big Rapids also, though, Coach Heist took care of business last week for all of our Cardinal fans. 2 absolutely dominant wins against Lakeview and Central Montcalm at home. Just absolutely played good basketball, too. So that's a good thing going to see them now going to be facing Reed City in round 1. That's going to be fun to see how that game goes the second time around.
Yeah, I'm really excited. But just another night, just another day, really, for Big Rapids able to clean that up. And especially, once again, congrats to Kent City picking up the CSAA tournament champs. Big time. Good for them. Hopping into
Happening.
district play for girls. I think we can start probably with that District 35. There's a solid amount of CSAA teams in there. Chip Hills, Reed City, Ludington, Hart, Big Rapids. It's going to be at Big Rapids. They're going to be hosting that next week. Brandon, what do you think so far of this bracket?
Cool. This is a fun one, right? Because obviously you have the rivalry in round 1, both teams finishing just around over the 500 mark at 12-10, 13-8 in the regular season for Reed City and Big Rapids, respectively. Hart is definitely the one to beat. Or they're the team that everyone's going to try to beat. They're definitely the number 1 seed for a reason. You got Ludington, who's played really good basketball. They're probably going to beat Chip Hills in round 1, barring some crazy Cinderella March Madness miracle happens, which is very, very possible. I'm not going to go out on a limb and say that's definitely the round 2 matchup we're going to see, but based off of what we've seen metrics-wise, watching both teams play, Ludington will likely win that game, but I think it's going to be even more fun to see. You got Hart against Ludington, and then you got Reed City against Big Rapids. 2 teams that not only play good basketball, they've played each other plenty of times, and they're practically both rivalry games. Now, Hart Ludington doesn't mount up to the same as Reed City Big Rapids, but it's pretty close. So,
Yeah.
you got 2 rivalry games going in to go for the right to play for District 35 championship. I mean, it's going to be an all-out fight for both these teams. This is going to be probably one of the most exciting districts to watch. Obviously, we'll cover a couple of the other ones here as well, but I mean, this one's number 1. Definitely going to be the one I'm going to keep my eye on here for this postseason in girls basketball.
Absolutely. Me too, because I think especially the thing with CSA, I mean, you're really just thinking the 2 rivalries. I mean, we talked about this last week too. The 2 rivalries you think about are Big Rapids, Reed City, and then number 2 is Grant and Newaygo. I feel like if Grant and Newaygo fans are talking about it, they put it number 1. Then Big Rapids and Reed City fans will put them number 1. So especially seeing these 2 teams square off, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a pretty, I wouldn't say hostile environment by any means, but especially when you add on top of a rivalry game a chance at a district title, a chance at making history. I think it just makes it that much deeper when you go into it. So I'm excited to see how this one plays out. And I don't know who's gonna win, but either way, we're gonna have a blast covering it. So let's get right onto it. I think the next couple ones, I think District 40 also has a few CSAA teams in there. Central Montcalm and Howard City are gonna be in there as well. Those 2 teams, I think have a solid chance to kind of restart it up and make some noise in this district.
Yeah, I think it should be interesting, and obviously, for both of these teams, the regular season wasn't as kind to them as they would have liked. Obviously, we saw Central Montcalm really kind of got on a little bit of a run. Just the consistency for them has really been kind of the issue for them this season because they definitely have proved they have the talent to play against a lot of these good teams, and we'll see how they do against Belding in round one. Tri-County against Ionia, that could be a favorable matchup for them. Just based on what we've seen data-wise. I haven't had a chance to really see both of these teams play on the girls' side at all. Winner will play Alma, obviously, who's coming in really as the number one seed. But at Central Montcalm, a familiar place for Tri-County to play, so maybe a little bit of advantage over Ionia. But I think especially both these teams just looking to play some of their best basketball here over the next couple of games and hopefully make a run. And obviously, a lot of the regular season substance, especially for a couple of these teams over the last couple of games, been up and down. Hopefully, they can pull all the goods, get rid of the bads, and see if they can really make some noise here this postseason.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Especially, I like how you added in the Central. I just dropped my pen, so that's cool. Especially how you added in this, but like going to Central Montcalm, being able to kind of have a little bit of familiarity, I think that's gonna be a pretty big factor that a lot of people are gonna overlook for Tri County because of just as you look at the regular season, they didn't have that much success, but it's a new slate. It's basically a brand new season when it comes to postseason, and that added stress of win or go home for a team like Tri County, it's like this is just a new start, and we're just going to play like we play. And Ionia is a team that has a little bit more expectations on it, so I think Tri County is going to be able to possibly sneak away a win. So we'll see how that one goes. Brandon, what's the next one? What do you think? Next team we got talking about.
Uh, let's see, District 42 here. Newaygo, the host for this one. You got Newaygo and Sparta in round one for the right to play Fremont as the number one seed. And on the other side, you have a really intriguing matchup because you're probably thinking, wait, how is Comstock Park an 8-win team, but they got the bye into the next round? That's because they have a really good MPR. But I think when you look at where this bracket stands, obviously Newaygo has the best opportunity to make a run in the postseason because a lot of teams, obviously, you would like the bye just to give you a lot of your players a break on that Monday night. And they can practice, watch film, watch some of these games, and be able to really kind of adjust from there. And for whatever opponent they're going to have to play, they're able to make those adjustments. But for a lot of these teams that have had a little bit of a rocky regular season and the record's not as great, they kind of been on the short end of the stick. They have a really good opportunity to start making these big runs in round one, right? You kind of look at it as a precursor game, right? You can get all the jitters out. You can get a lot of the mistakes out of the way and play your best basketball night one so that in night two, you are able to move up and play your better basketball for those bigger games. So it's an opportunity to make a run for those that watch the Big Ten tournament, especially in men's basketball. The year that Michigan ran it all the way as the 8, right? That was because they had played 2 more games by the time they got to play those top seeds when they had to play Wisconsin as the 1 seed. So being able to get that run and make that momentum in that first game is very crucial. And for Newaygo, especially playing at home, plays especially to their strengths, going to have to place against a really, really tough Fremont team. I mean, that's going to be a really gauntlet matchup against the Packers. But we'll see what Grant does as well on the other side. Comstock Park, only an 8-win team, but don't call them an 8-win team. They can play some good basketball, so they're going to have their hands full there. Should still it up to be a really good final there in District 42.
Yeah, Comstock Park too, just a little bit. I mean, you look at it, there's really you don't really get a lot of, I guess you say, previews with who is in their conference from what you see kind of with the CSAA and stuff like that, especially for them being an 8-win team. In a tough conference like that, that's nothing to shake a stick at. So don't overlook the Panthers. I think they'll be able to make some noise as well. So we'll see. Brandon, you're the stat guy. You're always you're the smart one in this co-partnership here. I mean, what's the next one you're thinking about? What's the next district?
I don't know how to respond to that, but I guess we can go to the other one with Kent City, as we mentioned earlier here, as I pull up the bracket here. on my other tab here. Kent City getting the bye, as I mentioned earlier on. They're going to be playing against the winner of Ravenna and Grand Rapids Wellspring Prep. It's actually the first time I've heard of this school's existence. So they're only played a couple of games this year, what we got from scores. It sounds like a relatively new program from what I read online. So for Kent City, they're really in a good position with the bye. Obviously, hosting District 74 is really crucial for them. And then on the other side, they're going to play the winner probably of two big games, assuming that they could beat a team like Ravenna or Wellspring and get to the final. You got Muskegon, West Michigan Christian, and Grand Rapids North Point Christian, two really good private schools that have really good athletes and really good athletic programs, and they're both 14 and 18 win teams. So Kent City will probably have their hands full in the final if they get there to get to Regional 19. But that one's certainly going to be fun to watch. I think Kent City goes in as the favorite, as the number one seed, so hopefully we can see them take care of business as CSAA fans. And then as well, just above it in 73, you got White Cloud facing off against Shelby in round one for the right to play North Muskegon. And then you got Holton looking to try to run it back. They'll be facing Hesperia in the semifinal for their first game. But they're going to have to do it at Shelby too. So White Cloud, uphill battle facing off against the host in round one. And a hungry team like Shelby is to see if they can get a win and boost their playoff run. So it won't be tough. Or I shouldn't say it won't be tough. It won't be easy for White Cloud. It will be very tough. But, hey, White Cloud still has a really good chance to make some noise this season. They started off a little slow, but they've gotten a little bit better as the season has progressed. It might not necessarily show on the score sheet, but they're playing better basketball. They made some more plays, and I think they could be a really intriguing team to see watching if they can get to the semifinal when they play North Muskegon. Maybe get a little revenge for the boys there from the regular season.
I like it. I like it. I think the last one that we got to talk about for the girls' side is District 70, if I'm correct.
Oh, yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Lakeview and Morley Stanwood are going to be in that one. Beale City, Blanchard, Montebello, and St. Louis make up the other three teams of that five. I think this is a nice little turnaround, especially. I mean, Morley Stanwood is going to be a team that's kind of looking for a little bit of kind of a revenge tour, a little bit in this tournament for districts. My voice almost gave out just then, but I think they're going to be able to make some noise, especially. I mean, they're going to be playing. It's still kind of to I can't even talk right now, Brandon. I don't know what's going on. My mind's it's the sleep, dude. I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. My mind's going a million miles an hour. I'm excited for this district playoff. It's just a whole bunch of things adding into it. But they're going to be determined who they're going to be playing. But Brandon, I mean, what do you think about this district?
I think this district is very intriguing. Obviously, you have the host is Beale City, the number 3 seed, right around 500 this year. Team that has some intrigue. Obviously, they're playing the Highlands, so some really, really good conference teams, and then some not so good Highland Conference teams, and that's just the variation of basketball in their conference. It seems like every year. So you play all the best of the best, and then you play kind of the lows of the lows with the rebuilding programs. There's a little bit more of a range as opposed to the CSAA, for example. So it brings a lot of intrigue when they play a team like St. Louis, right? They're 18-4 on the year, but I mean, you look and they're having to play some of these top tier teams like Lake City. They're going to play a lot of these Highland teams. So you look at where they're at and you're like, man, this could be an interesting matchup. And then you got Moy Stanwood playing either Montebello or Lakeview. Obviously, Moy Stanwood swept Lakeview in the regular season. And then Montebello, a team right behind 8-14, the team that can be competitive as well. It should be a really contested game, highly contested game between Montebello and Lakeview. So it'll be interesting. But for Moy Stanwood, this is revenge tour. Losing the tournament, they're going to be motivated. They're going to be ready to go. I think they're the favorite just based on what Coach Raven's done with that team, just based on what they did in the regular season, based on now the motivation that team has for what happened last night on Thursday. I mean, I think they could go and they can win at Beale City, beat St. Louis, and get on to the regional if they play their brand of basketball. Don't turn it over. Knock down some jump shots. We'll be seeing the Mohawks move into Region 18 here after next Friday.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's it for kind of our district preview of what we can be seeing for next week. Tonight is the district final for a lot of the boys. Reed City is going to be in action. We'll be covering that on Big Country 100.9. If you want to listen to Brandon's beautiful voice.
Not this one. Not WBRN, Big Country. It looks confusing with our things, but it's Big Country 100.9. I've had some people ask. WWBR.com as well, if you don't have a radio near you.
You can rock the stream. You can rock the stream.
Or also on the mobile app. WWBR on Apple Play Store. Wait, Apple Play Store?
It's
Apple Store
Apple
and Google
Store.
Play Store. There you go.
Yeah,
See, I got the sleep depreciation too, so I'm
it
with you here,
happens.
Joe. We
Well,
made it though. We
we're gonna go take a nap, but before we do, we gotta get into it. Half court predictions. Who do you think? I mean, it could be for the district final tonight for the boys. It could be for next week. Who's gonna maybe be an upset? What do you think? I know I have mine.
Okay, you go first then. I want to see
I
where
know
yours
I
is because
have
we might have the
mine.
same
I'm
one.
gonna be a homer here. Tri County is gonna find newfound life in this district playoff. I think they're gonna be able to get a first round upset. They're gonna play very well. I think especially against Ionia, they're gonna be able to kind of just come out swinging. And I don't think they're gonna be expecting that. I don't know how far they're gonna get into it. I hope they win the district final, but I know for a fact, put a lock on it. They're getting past round one, and they're gonna punch their ticket to round two next Wednesday.
I like it. Okay, I'll go one each side. I'll start with the boys. White Cloud, give me revenge tour. Give me the win over North Muskegon. They end their season. I want it. I want it so badly for Coach Jones and that group. I want
I
them to
also
win
want that.
at Asperia so bad. Yeah, I'm all in. Pushing the chips in. Give me the Indians. Give them a district championship. I'm all for it. On the girls' side, I think we're going to see some intrigue here, especially in the girls' bracket of District 35. Give me Coach Heist's team. Give me them as the underdog. Give me them as the district champion. They beat Reed City potentially. And if they play Hart or Ludington, they will be raising the crown on their home court. I love the home court advantage for Big Rapids. It's a huge plus for them. As much as I love Reed City going in with Coach Belfuse, he's done a heck of a job. This is going to be a heck of a ball game. And I could see even Reed City having a really good chance to upset either team. But I think right now, Coach Heist's team is playing the best basketball out of all of these five teams going into the tournament with a home court advantage and vengeance for not making the CSAA tournament. Give me Coach Heist. Push it all in. Give me them to win at home on their home floor for a district title. That's all I want to see.
I also believe that as well. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully, you could also see what I was trying to do, trying to emphasize the Cardinal, but being a reverse camera with trying to find out which way is right and left is kind of hard to figure out to put emphasis on it. But that's it for this episode of the Rundown. It's almost the end of basketball season. We got a little bit longer to go. We're hoping for wins all across the CSAA. We will be back next week, kind of recap everything going down, and especially talk about girls basketball and the district kind of start up. So, yeah, I think that's going to be it for this week's episode of The Rundown, Brandon.
It is. It's always been good. We'll see you guys on the radio tonight, and we'll see you back here next week.